Good afternoon. Thank you guys for joining us for our third after church session of 2022. And today we're going to talk about an awesome topic, continuation of last week's topics, dating in the modern era. I'm here with all my brothers and partners in crime, the pastoral staff at New Covenant Full Gospel Church. We have Senior Pastor John Thompson. We have Pastor Adam. We have Sydney Thurman, and I'm Terrell Kennedy. We're so happy to be with you guys again. And let's jump into this topic, guys. This is talking about dating in the modern era. And this time, last month, we went with a younger group, to kind of get some of the millennials' take on dating in the modern era. But this week, or this session, we're going to do something a little different. Pastor John, why don't you tell us about some exciting things that we got for the audience today?
Well, one of the things first of all, obviously last month when we did a panel discussion with a bunch of millennials, 30s and under, to get their perspective on what it means to be dating in the modern era. And we all got a really big education about a lot of the things that our children are engaged in, younger people are engaged in. But this time we're gonna approach it a little bit differently. We're gonna talk about it from the over 30 sector, which is a large population of people. Because anytime you understand that the divorce rate is 50%, that means that you're gonna have a lot of people over 30 who are in the dating market. And many of us at that age group that are now in the dating market are like fish out of water now.
Yeah.
Especially if you've been married for an extended period of time. You were married for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, yeah. And now you're 40, 50, 55 plus years old, finding yourself in the dating market. When you left the dating market, there was no such thing as online dating.
Right.
Yeah. And now you're finding yourself coming back into the dating market, and you're like, well, Match.com, eHarmony, Christian Single, Christian Mingle, what is that? Right. And so you gotta educate yourself on this kind of stuff, on what it means to date now. What does it actually look like? What kind of expectations should you have and set? So we're going to have a really robust conversation about it today. We're going to do two separate segments aside from our conversation, one with a couple of men who are going to be educating us on some things that they're experiencing in the dating market and help us to learn, and another section with a couple of women as well who are going to help us to understand what it's like dating in the current era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely learned a lot last month with the after church session with the younger group, and I think that the panel was attentive, as well as it was exciting to talk to them to kind of understand how they navigate and some of the things that they take in as value in order for them to execute their dating process. Sydney, my chocolate brother. I am so excited to talk to you about some of the things that we've talked in the pre-production in terms of the wisdom that you bring to the group. And you, if you don't mind me saying, you are the eldest of the group, and you have a perspective about having examples, like you talked about last time, having examples or who gave you kind of your dating format. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about this and how that question kind of pivots a little bit with this group that we're going to talk to today.
One thing that I always been a really, really big advocate on is looking at perceptions and also guides, and also what's been our model. So when we talk about this dating thing, whether good or bad, it's always going to be a model. When I say good or bad, there's always going to be someone who's going to be excuse you, whether you pick up good traits or bad traits. Well, in my particular case, I was fortunate enough to have my mom and my dad in the household. So that kind of showed me how to date. So I was able to see things. But although my mom and dad was in the house, I didn't see my dad per se do quote unquote this dating thing. My dad wasn't an affectionate guy in that regards, but my mom was. So I was still able to see that. So I was able to take those things into my relationships. So that meant to me going out to dinner, being able to date. I think that's still important once you become married, how you still should be able to date. So I was able to look at those models, but also coming from where I come from, where it was a lot of single mothers, I also saw other bad examples, and I was able to see how those examples had bled into the relationships of their daughters and of their sons. So that's what spawned a question for me. What's been your model for that, for those various reasons?
Awesome. Hey, Pastor Adam, you have you have a significant or situation than all of us in terms that you have been married in the past and been divorced, and now you are remarried.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that huge change, if you will, from kind of jumping back into the dating era, and how lack of preparedness that you have, and what are some of the brief things that you discovered that you didn't know about yourself when you jumped into that back into the dating era?
I was scared. I'm not even gonna lie, because you're like Pastor John said earlier. I had stopped. When I got married to my first wife, there was no online dating. That did not exist. In terms of having online dating sites and being able to see various people's profiles that you might be interested in, that did not exist when I was dating, when I got married. So to emerge out of a 20 plus year marriage and step back on the scene, the dating scene, it's a whole new world. It literally is a brave new frontier. You need to be brave to be able to deal with the unknown, because now you're having to deal with people, not just in your local region, your regional area or your territory, but literally all over the world. All over the world, people have access to you in terms of what you're looking for, in terms of who you would like to date. I think for me personally, I was very cautious. Because, you hear stories about things that happen to other people that have gone on dates, and then the date didn't turn out what they expected it to be, or the person that they were dating wasn't who they said that they were, and so you have to be careful and really have a level of wisdom and just intrepidation in terms of who you're dating. Because again, you don't know these people. These people, present themselves as one thing, but then you get to another place and they start pulling stuff off and stuff start falling away, and you're not the same person that was at the restaurant. Who is you? And so you have to be prepared for that, So, but I think one of the things that I will say was, for me, again, reemerging on the dating scene, I was prepared to take it as slow as I needed to take it. Was not going to rush this process. Didn't want to make the same mistakes that I had made previously. Amen. And so I needed to be as deliberate and as intentional as I possibly could in terms of seeking out a mate that was going to fit into my life. Amen.
I think your patience, your piece about having patience to kind of allow the process to come to you, to get your footing in really knowing who Adam was again, right?
Yeah.
Because your identity was so comprised of your family for 20 plus years. And your identity was in, what you knew and in the relationship that you had. Pastor John, you and I both have been married for a very long time. So we've probably been out of and also Minister Thurman as well. We've been out of the dating game for a long time. Yeah. The stuff that I've heard from both panelists terrifies me as well.
Yeah, when I got married, the Bulls were on their second three-peat.
Wow.
So, the Chicago Bulls were on their second three-peat. Jordan was still the best player in the league. So to give you an idea of how long ago it was.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're not gonna go there. We got Tom Brady back in the league. We're gonna start talking about Tom Brady. Nobody, but anyway.
Let me find out.
Oh man. But I think that is so. I think it's important that we have this discussion. Last week we had a good conversation, and I think that we were not by no means did, the conversation took a life of its own. So by no means were we underfed last week. And I think this week we're going to give even more fruit and more food for thought in our panelists. Today, our first panelist is going to be 2 women. And then the second part of this show, we're going to talk to 2 gentlemen. And so I think that it's important that we stay focused on the topic, because I'm really interested to see what it looks like. What does dating look like after you've reached a certain age? What is your anticipations? How have your anticipations changed in the process of dating at an older age? So guys, if you, without any further ado or any other comments, let's go ahead and start talking to the women.
All right, so we've got Sister Earlene and Sister Nakia Hodges who are going to be joining us for the females portion of the discussion. They are on their way in right now. Minister Sidney, why don't you take it over and talk to us a little bit about Sister Earlene?
Sure. I want to introduce you guys to Earlene Hunley. She's a friend of our family. She's friends of my wife. They work together, District 300. I was introduced to Earlene over some 10 years ago. And I found her to be real pleasant. She's a person who's willing to do whatever anybody needs from her. So I just want to introduce you guys to Earlene Hunley, and I think we're gonna find her to be really interesting on today.
Awesome. That was kind of like a dating show introduction, wasn't it? Did anybody else get that feeling with it?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
We're gonna find someone for you today. No.
Right.
Exactly.
Sister Earlene, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. My name's Earlene Hunley, 50-year-old single woman, 3 children, 10 grandkids, 2 deceased. My kids are 32. My son, he would have been 29 on February 14th. Unfortunately, I lost him on February 11th of this year. And then I have a 19-year-old daughter. And my grandkids range from age 10 down to 9 months old. I've been employed with School District 300 for over 25 years. I'm a secretary in the guidance office, single parent, and just, trying to live right. I have hiccups every now and then, but they get smoothed out.
Awesome. And let me take a moment just to simply introduce Sister Nakia Hodges, who's going to tell us a little bit about herself. Now, she is my cousin by marriage, my wife's first cousin. They're close enough to be sisters in terms of how they look, as well as in terms of their age and how they act. And so, but I've obviously known her then. If I've been married for 25 years, I've known her for all 25 of those years, plus the 2 that Rena and I were dating. So I've known her for about 27 years.
Wow.
Didn't feel like that long, huh, Nikki?
It did not.
Not like a prison sentence or nothing. And so, but Nikki, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience?
I'm Nakia. I am single. I have an 18-year-old son. I live in Chicago and I work from home. I've always worked from home some, but since COVID, we work from home completely now. So, and yeah.
That's good.
Welcome, Nikki, and welcome, Earlene. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get into it. Dating in the modern era. I think that, first of all, thank you, ladies, both for lending us, your experiences and your time in order to talk to us about this topic. I want to just throw one question out there real quick. Pastor Adam, let's talk about why are we dating?
Okay. All right. So, Sister Nikki, let's put the question to you. Why are you in the dating scene at this point in time?
Well, right now, I wouldn't say that I am. However,
Okay.
when I am, I would say that I'm dating to find my lifetime companion, right? Someone to spend the rest of my life with. Especially at this point, I'm not having more children. So it's not like, I'm dating to find someone to build a family because I already have that.
Right.
Interesting. When you say, I like that, because you did say that, you're dating to find your lifetime partner. So that the phrase dating on purpose, is what immediately comes to mind with that, which isn't a phrase that we had 20 some years ago.
That's true.
Those three words were never put together 20 something years. But what does that mean to you when you say dating on purpose? Obviously, it means dating to find my lifetime partner. But what does dating to find my lifetime partner look like? Nikki.
Well, first, I think that you're upfront and honest, right? So if you meet me, you get to know who I am and what I expect so that we know moving
you see what she
forward.
just did? You see what she just did? She just knocked out 75% of the male dating population.
Okay.
How is that?
By saying we got to be upfront and honest.
Wow.
One, y'all should have watched the sermon today. Yeah, I knew it was gonna be one, but come on,
Oh,
let's
you know.
No, I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
just
Nick.
being honest.
Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry. So upfront.
I don't know what else I would say.
Okay, let's pose the same question to, and we'll circle back. Let's pose the same question to you, Erling.
I'll have to piggyback off of Nakia, finding that lifetime partner, someone that you can grow with, to experience different things in life that you encounter, whether they're good or bad ones.
Okay. And so what does dating on purpose then look like for you? Like, is there a vetting process that you employ?
One that can communicate.
Okay.
Communication and listening and being, what am I looking for? Compassionate. You need compassion when you're dating.
Awesome. That's interesting. That's interesting.
I like the whole communication piece. Pastor Adam, you were going to ask another question?
You know what? I really am interested to see with Sister Erlene, me being one who's coming from having been married and then divorced, having back on the scene again. I know for me, dating after marriage or after divorce, my expectations or my requirements change. And I want to ask you, in terms of dating when you're younger versus dating now, how have your expectations changed in terms of who you date?
So when I was younger, when I was dating, I think I was just dating to just fit in with the in crowd and not really looking for anything. But then as you grow, you evolve and you see different things, what you will accept and what you will not accept. So.
Okay.
So we're gonna get a little deeper.
Yes.
We're gonna dig in a little deeper. So when you talk about what you're willing to accept and what not to accept, what are those things that you've seen that really made you pivot?
Okay. So I was dating a guy, and I was dating just to be dating because I was turning older and I felt like the pickings were getting slim. So, we got engaged and everything, and I fell in love with the fact of I'm engaged and I'm getting married. And that was the wrong thing to do because I wasn't truthful with myself. I wasn't being truthful to the guy either. So now that in the dating pool that I'm older now, I have to be honest with myself and put out there what I am looking for. And I can't hold back, because if you're not in that same track with me, we really can't move,
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So let's pose that same question to Nikki then. In terms of, well, maybe a little variation of it. In terms of like when you were younger, obviously you dated for one reason. And the theory is that as you've gotten older, seen more of the world and more of people, that the parameters of dating have changed somewhat for you. Things that you may have accepted younger, you may not accept later. Things that you may not have accepted when you were younger, you may say, look at it now and be like, oh, that's not a big deal. How would you say that your dating parameters have changed over the years?
So the reason for dating is still the same, right? I still always wanted to find someone to spend my life with, right? But in my younger days, I would say looking for someone to build a family and stuff, I think I felt like things were more rushed. And now that I know I'm not having more children and things like that, I'm not feeling rushed. I think you grow and you learn. Like, I think some of the things that you think people will grow out of, you don't expect to see when you're now, from dating in your 20s to dating in your 30s and 40s. You don't expect to see those same things that you expect that younger people grow out of, when really some of the guys are still doing the same things that they did before. Communication is a big deal, and honesty is always a big deal. But I think now more than ever, there's a lot of things I wouldn't accept, like the little sideline deceit is not okay. Like, at some point it becomes not a maturity issue, right? Because you're in your 40s and 50s now, but more of a character flaw.
Okay.
That's good. Wow, that's good.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So can I jump in there, Pastor Adam, please?
Oh, go
said
for it.
a character flaw. I think so. So it sounds like to me, both of you had this experience of dating kind of in a popular perception, like going with the flow of kind of the popularity situation at the time in the era, right? People's dating, we're doing this and we're doing that. And now that you've had some experience in that world and long-term relationships, short-term relationships, now your perception of what an ideal mate is has evolved. And you quickly try to decipher whether you're putting yourself in a situation with an immature man versus someone who may have some substance, and a relationship could actually become something. So that's what I'm hearing. That's what. Am I correct on that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So let me kind of.
Go ahead.
So let me just kind of follow with this question to the both of you. How has your dating experience? Okay, so it's taking a cumulative accounting of how you have dated past and presently. How has that impacted your life, and how has it changed your process and your approach to dating today?
Who are you going to first?
Sister Nikki, let's go.
For starters, I think more precautious. In your 20s, you're not as worried about things as you are when you are older and kind of know. I think I mentioned this before. I don't think that it's any harder online than if I met someone in a grocery store. Like, the precaution still has to be there, because you don't know this person. They can present themselves in your face as something they're not, just like they can present themselves online as something they're not. So I think over time, you just learn to be more precautious, and you have to pay attention to red flags, because oftentimes you see things early on and you hold out for something to turn, and then it doesn't. So if it was there in the beginning, it'll probably be there in the end.
Right. Sister Earlene?
I will have to agree with her on that. Becoming older and dating, you take that mask off so that you can actually see the real you, and that other person can see the real you when you start communicating and being open and honest with what you're looking and searching for.
Can I hop in on that a little bit? I got a question I want to ask you, but before we get to that, each one of you, just really quickly, give me your top 2 red flags or turnoffs that you would see in a dating process. Nikki first, then Early.
Lying by omission.
So not telling you everything.
Right. So if you're leaving out details that you know will, at the very least, spark an additional conversation, then it's a lie. Like, you intentionally left that out to avoid something.
Okay.
So that's one.
You said that quickly too. I appreciate it.
I was going to say that.
Right. She was ready for that.
It came out real fast.
Yes.
That bullet was in the chamber already.
Jesus.
Any others, Nikki?
So that's a major one. So lying, period, isn't okay, right? So anytime you're getting caught up in lies, it's a red flag, and you should just not waste your time.
Okay.
And I think the shift in behaviors, like when someone is completely available all the time and then all of a sudden they're not, you have to wonder what's changed, and that's also a red flag.
You're going to turn this show into Dr. Phil.
That's pretty good there. That's pretty good. Sister Arlene,
I was going to say that with the consistency, how the late night phone calls or the early morning phone calls, you can't do. It has to be in the middle of the day, because that makes you think that he's living a double life or she's living a double life.
All right. All right, good, good, good. So the consistency and then the having to be kind of pigeonholed into a certain time of communication is a red flag.
Or always breaking, like you all make a date. Oh, I can't make it. I can't do this. I can't do that.
Something's always coming up.
Exactly.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, so that does help us to segue into something else. I'm gonna start with Sister Erlene, and then I'm gonna go to Nikki, okay? In terms of a list, and I know, people say that they don't have lists, but everybody's got a list.
We do.
Men have a list of what they want from a woman. Women have a list of what they want from a man. Let me ask you the first question is, do you have a list of sorts?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a long list, but
That's fine. That's fine. We'll get to that part in a second. How has your dating experience expected or modified your list? So when you first got started dating, your list may have had 50 things on it, and now it's down to 3. Or it may have started with 3 things, and you're like, oh no, it's a lot of crazy out here. You gotta be more stringent, and now it's up to 50. How has your experience caused you to modify your list?
Wow, that makes you think about that one. Oh, I'm kind of stumped on that one there.
All right, well, you think about that for a second because Nick is ready. He keeps her bullet.
It's the other list on the computer screen.
I actually don't have a list.
Yes, you do.
I don't have a list. I think we all have core things that we want and we know of, but I don't have a list where I actually sat and
you may not have
reached the years.
Right, you may not have written it down.
Right.
But you do have some criteria.
Correct. So I have some things in my mind that are important to me. But it's certainly not something like what I would have done in my 20s that might have started with like tall, dark, and handsome. Like those things aren't on my list anymore. You know what I mean? So if you're talking about what's important, like
so he can be short, light skinned, and ugly. All right.
Ooh, no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Don't be rude.
That's not nice.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Tell us. So let's go deep. Let's go into those thoughts. All I heard is in your mind, and okay, talk to us. Put them in words.
So a person's character is going to be more important than their physical traits at this point, right? Because we're looking for someone who's going to be able to carry in a conversation. And I am traditional. So I think I want someone who's also traditional in their mindset about different things. So those things I think are more important, but I don't have a list that, I don't have an extensive list, I should say. I have a few things that are important to me. When I was in my 30s and dating, I wanted someone who had children because I wanted them to understand what it meant to be a parent and be understanding when I have things going on with my child. So I don't know if that's as important now because, now my son will be graduating from high school. He's a young adult. And the pull on both sides won't be there.
Gotcha.
So things like that I feel like have changed, but I don't necessarily have a list.
Gotcha. Okay, so Sister Erlene, you didn't have a minute now.
Ready?
One of my biggest things is being able to communicate. I want you to communicate with caution, being able to communicate and accept criticism, and criticism be given to that person as well. I didn't look at that back then. Growing up, you was all about, I grew up in Chicago on the west side, so it was all about who had the nicest car with the loudest sounds, this, that, and the other. That has all phased out now. Long as you have a car that's running, that's decent, no hoopties now, but
no hoopties.
No hoopties.
Right, no hoopties.
Someone that's, as far as working goes, I need you to be, employed. Some people are like, oh, I wouldn't date somebody that's working at McDonald's or bagging groceries at Walmart. At this day and point in time, if it's an honest living, I'll accept it because if we're together, I can help you grow into something more. Believe in what you want.
Oh, all right. Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, it is. I had somewhere else I wanted to go with that, but I don't want to take too much more time because I know Minister Sidney's got something that he's got cooking over there right now. So
Yes, absolutely. My question I'm going to start with Nikki first. How does pressure, whether internal, external, affect your dating priorities?
Pressure to what? Be married?
Just period. Just period.
I don't feel any pressure to be married. You mean like pressure from family?
Right. Internal, external dating priorities. So if we have priorities, regardless if we want to get married, regardless if we want to find someone to raise a family with, have those pressures, whether that be internal, external, how has that affected your dating priorities?
So I'm over 40 now, so I don't have those type of pressures now. I also don't have family or people pressuring me, so I don't have any external pressures to be married. I am blessed in that I have a great family and I have great friends around me, and some of us are single and some of us are not, and we are living life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I will say, and you probably heard me say this before, that in my 30s, I did feel rushed because I knew I wanted more children. But once I hit like 39 and kind of went through the whole, okay, like, more children aren't in the cards for me, then there's no pressure. So for me, I try to like take it light and keep it easy as much as I can, because, you'll encounter people that you have to like brush off quickly and others that you have to, peel back a little bit before but no pressure to like stick in something or rush through something at all for me. Not at this age for sure.
So that's interesting. So if I could just piggyback on that, Sydney, when we're talking about internal pressures, there's no point in your, and I love the way your mannerism is about it, but at no point in the whole transition process from previous relationship to now, did you feel like, wow, I need to be with someone?
Yes. In my 30s, I felt I needed to be with someone because I wanted to have more children. So that was the pressure there, is that I need to meet someone quickly enough so that I can have more children before that time expires for me.
So what I'm hearing from you, Nikki, is that, and that's very interesting. So what you're saying, that those internal pressures necessarily didn't occur or happen. You're just saying that they happen at an early state in your dating process opposed to now.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. All right. Same question for you, Early.
I would say it was in my 30s. When I turned 38, that's when my relationship ended. And internally, it would be this scared little girl, when I'm going out, I would put myself together, hair, makeup, clothes, everything. And then when I would come home and then all of that comes off, I would look in the mirror and be like, it's this scared little girl, Erlene, what to do, where to go, because I felt being that age, people, and these were just my thoughts, people were judging me. Oh, you have 3 kids, you're not married, blah, blah, this and that. What's wrong with you? So I internalized that a lot, and I would beat myself up for that. And now that I'm getting older, I'm realizing that it was just the enemy playing tricks on my mind, saying, you need to do this at this age, you need to do that at that age. Do I still struggle with it at times? Yes, but I've become more comfortable with being single.
I think that's very interesting. And I applaud you guys for that, because what happens in a lot of cases is that there is some external pressures. The external pressures look like mama saying, you're not married yet. We don't have any grandbabies yet. Those are those external pressures. So for you guys saying that at this particular case here, or this particular state that I'm in, that I don't have those quote unquote pressures. So just to have a follow-up question, what brought you guys to that place? Because why I ask that, guys, is there's so many, I can name 20 women that I know for a fact, you're not married yet. And some of those pressures can be just by looking at others, other friends, other family members who may be married. And sometimes we see those things. So what got you guys to that place? And I applaud you guys, but what got you guys into that place? Because this may help someone else, that you're to that state where you're saying, hey, I don't feel those internal pressures. I don't feel those external pressures. What got you guys to that state?
So I've never had the external pressures from my family. I internalized all of it. And just growing up and maturing more and looking at different couples like, oh, I wish I had had that, or oh, I wish I would have had that. I'm on the outside looking in, not knowing what's really going on. And it's like, do you really want to know what's going on? They may have issues behind closed doors. He could be beating her behind closed doors. She could be cursing him up one side and down the other. So it's all with trial and error. And once you start to become comfortable with who you are, it kind of just like settles. And before you know it, that unknown happens. It's like, oh, wow, I've held out for this in a good way.
Yeah, excellent. Sister Nikki, same for you.
I agree in that I don't think I've ever had external pressures to be married. And again, when I was feeling the internal pressure for myself, it was more about wanting to have more children. So since my relationship with my son's father ended, I think I was 30. So started at the beginning of my 30s. Those were the years where I felt like I wanted to hurry up. I wanted to have more kids. And once that wasn't the pressure, then I don't think I have the internal pressure. I also think that you were saying because of what we see, like I of course have friends and family who are married, but I have just as many friends and family members who are still single. So I think we just live in a different era now. Like all of my mom, all my aunts, everybody was married, and we don't have that. When I look at like me and my friends and cousins, like everybody's not married. So you don't have that pressure to have it. And, so I see people around me who are living their best single lives and thriving and raising their children and doing everything that they have to do to live their best lives as single people. And so for me, there's no pressure.
I think, thanks, Mr. Sidney, I appreciate that. And thank you, Nikki and Earlene, for being so honest. The one thing that I hear from you all, or the constant theme that I'm hearing from you all, is Nikki, you have a great support system around you that help pick you up through the ups and downs of your relationships. And in every scenario, everyone doesn't have those that support system. And so, Earlene, I hear you say, hey, I internalized this as rejection, right? And as if I'm supposed to be at this stage of my life and I'm supposed to have this whole list of things that the world is looking for me to have. And so every day I'm dealing with this whole process of rejection internally, and I'm perceiving people's thoughts towards me, and so I'm internalizing it, and I'm putting on this mask when I go out, and I come home and I see the reality in the mirror, and I feel like there is a pressure timetable. And I'm also hearing that you guys were searching for someone with character and who could communicate. Pastor Adam, let's talk about that too, in terms of character and communicate this individual, this male, this ideal mate. You had a question about that. You had a thought about that.
It's just basically this one question. I just want to know from the both of you, is not being a Christian a deal breaker? Meaning, would you date somebody who was not a Christian? Look at Sister Nikki. Look at her face. Look at her face. You're already like, oh God. But it's a relevant question for us as believers to be able to answer and then answer it intelligently, And so I want to know, Sister Nakia, would you date somebody that is not a Christian? Is that a deal breaker for you?
I think it is a deal breaker.
Okay.
I think that you want somebody who believes what you believe, but I also think it's more of a deal breaker not to have a belief system at all.
Okay.
Certainly.
Yeah. I would agree with Nakia with that. I want them to be God-fearing, Christian believing person. Let's just say that they do believe in God, but they don't go to church. If we're dating, I'm going to invite you to church just so you can experience it for yourself, not just hearing it from me, but seeing is believing. So, yeah.
Hey, Minister Terrell, could I just interject for one thing? I want to ask Nikki a question. Now, Nikki has been so on point Every question we've asked, he's been like, knocking it out of the park. When he asked that question, is it a deal breaker? Your response was, it wasn't definitive. Is there anything in it that makes you, because as I mentioned, your other question, you've been spot on. So you said there was some kind of some trepidation there. Is there anything is it exacting? Is it a deal breaker, or is it a maybe? And if so, what makes it a maybe?
It's a maybe because I think as long as you have a belief system, so much of what makes up a person is that, like, right? I wouldn't want to date someone who is atheist because they don't believe in anything. And they're just different kind of people. Like, I've encountered some at work and they just different kind of people. So I feel like if you have some sort of belief system, it is quite possible that we could still have a lot of the same values and things that are important to us. And I say that saying that I still think that I would prefer they be Christian, but I can possibly be open to them not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, thank you. I just wanted to just follow back up on it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think we got one more question, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead, Terrell. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just going to touch base on what Sydney said. Is, Nikki, you've been too calculated, too calculated. I feel like we on the show and she's auditioning for everyone that's going to watch the show. I know a very gentle and sweet Nikki. Nikki is what I call you, and I've seen you through the years endure and raise your son, and morph into this very powerful, self-loving person who, for the lack of a better word, is you don't settle, right? You past that. You kind of jump over that hoop already, and what I also want to know from you, as well as you, Erling, is has some of that pain and hardship that you've endured kind of desensitized you from growing with a man in any aspect, as opposed to them having to be ready, set, and packaged and X, Y, Z, and if they're not ready, set, and packaged, you're like, your tolerance is just no.
No, that's certainly not the case for me. I've dated flawed people. I'm flawed, so I'm not suggesting that I'm not, and dealt with things and been through things. So I don't think so. I don't think that I lack the ability to grow with somebody. Okay. I do think that at this age, the expectation is still different, right? You expect a level of honesty and openness and transparency and communication, because you expect them to be mature individuals at this age also.
Erling, same question.
I agree with her. I'm not opposed to growing with someone, because if someone is growing, that seed has already been planted. And if I come along and I can help grow you, then we can blossom into something more.
Love that. Pastor John, what are you going to ask?
Well, I was going to ask the question, as it relates to dating, what has been, and I don't know if we did this, and I don't think we did this, but what has been your pre-dating or your relationship example? So everything that we get, for example, for me, I've got 2 aunts and uncles who I have modeled my marriage after. In one shape or another, has been one of those 2, because those were the examples that I saw of good marriages that, that lasted the test of time and all that kind of good stuff, until I could stand on my own 2 feet to figure out what direction to go. I simply mimicked what I saw. What has been your relationship example that informs your dating decisions? We can start with Erlene.
Well, I feel like your first something that you can relate to would be your parents. So growing up, it was my mom and my stepdad. So that's what I had to model after. But after a while, they divorced. So it was just seeing my mom and my grandmother just supporting us. So I can't really say that I had a an example of what I would say the ideal dating scene is.
Okay.
So sometimes I think that's where my flaw comes in at, because I didn't have that example. So it's like I'm just jumping out there to say, hey, you know what? Oh, I'm dating, or I'm this, or I'm that. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. How about you, Nick?
Probably the same. I have plenty of examples of married couples who I could model myself after, but I didn't see them in their dating phase. Even for you and Rena, I wouldn't say that I remember what your dating phase was like. You know what I mean? I think I was in college at the time. And so I think hey, we out here trial by error, me and my peers. And I don't think I don't think I've seen multiple people like in their dating phases to know what that was like before they were married.
Okay. So like you said, it's more of a trial by error kind of deal. All right, good deal. Brother Terrell, back to you, sir.
Well, like I said, ladies, I'm so grateful that you took the time to spend with us. Just, you know, it's important that people open up about their dating experiences, their expectations, and how those things have changed. And I think that I'm in this moment, I'm going to give you ladies both a chance to give closing statements to advise other women, you know, what you would think they should do. And I've heard you say some amazing nuggets already in terms of communication, in terms of character, you know, and being honest, right? And so go ahead. I want to do that. Let's do that. Erlene, I'll start with you, and then tell just if you could give any other woman an advice about dating and how they, you know, kind of being true to themselves in the process. What would you say to them?
First of all, love yourself. In order for someone to love you, you have to teach someone how to treat you. You have to put out there what you're looking for. And if it's not there, don't waste the time, because you can't get time back.
That's good. That's good. Nikki.
I agree. Don't waste your time. I think that I think I said this before, that I feel like as women, we try to sit and like wait it out. But I think that, and someone said this to me, so the moment something doesn't serve you, move on. So don't sit and wait for it when there's no value in it for you. You don't have to continue dating somebody. End it and move on.
Thank you for the advice for the ladies, and you know, thank you for your time as well. We look forward to connecting with you at another time, another session. God bless, and thanks for your contribution.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Thank you, ladies.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Next, we're going to talk to two gentlemen with the same questions and just get a male perspective on dating in the modern era. Pastor John, you want to introduce our guests?
Actually, we're going to have Pastor Adam first introduce
Sure.
Brother Charles Dixon to us.
Yeah. So this is our brother Charles Dixon. We've been friends, wow, for a really long time. 20 plus years, we've been friends. We met in the city of Washington, D.C., working at a law firm there. And ever since then, we have been literally fast friends almost all over the country, almost all over the world. But God has blessed us to be fast friends with one another. I consider him to be a brother of mine. And so I just want to introduce to you my brother, Charles Dixon III.
So unmute, Charles.
You mute him, man.
Oh, I said, hello, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Good deal. Good deal. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Charles, and your dating and your dating experience.
You know, I've like Adam says, I hail from Washington, D.C. I've worked a few places, so I've had the experience of taking in a few different cultures. I'm a son, a father, a grandfather. So kind of been there, done that sort of thing. And so if I were to take a stab for me from a dating, I'll first say this. Hold on, you know me, Pastor John always me my notes. Anyway, so for me, I look at it like this. Today's modern trends of dating complicate the traditional terms and values that we have. And I think this is probably where the crux of all the discord begins. You have, I'll give you one example. the issue of still images, AKA selfies, right? So think of it like this. Once upon a time, a guy would invite a woman out on a date. He would go and drive, he would pick her up, and however she presented herself, looking beautiful, nice, he felt like she intentionally prepared for him. She's like, oh, she looks great, let's go out. So, back then there was no, let me show the gram this and all these different things. It was just you and I intentionally spending time. That's it. The date's over. You can have a memory and say, I'm sure, Pastor John, you could probably think of an instance of a time when, before you were married, that there was a particular dress or something that your wife wore that you can refer back to and say, babe, I like when you wear this. Absolutely. Where in this era, dating gets complicated because let's just say nowadays, you go, you pick up someone for a date and the person could be with you. They could be right next to you in the car and they looking really nice, but then they'll say, for them, then the world gets it. So it's not only intentional for you, it's like it's shared services. We hanging out together, but I'm also keeping my flag up. I'm hanging out with you. I like you. I'm dating you, but I'm keeping my flag up by posting this to let the other suitors stay engaged as well. This complicates it because now on both sides, somebody's looking for a cemented action of consistency to say this person is really digging me and I feel their presence. But now with this kind of still image era, it throws everything off because it makes everything seem like, well, am I with a person that's secure or do they constantly need reassurance? Are they insecure? Or, what is the reason for this? Am I not saying what they want to hear enough? Those kind of things. So, that's one of them. The other part of it is—
Hey, Charles, I love that energy. Let's keep it going, but let's get Brother Raul introduced as well, and then we'll just jump right back in the conversation. So,
all right.
Bottle that energy. I love it.
I told you, you just give them the floor and get out the way, man.
Get out the way.
All right.
Good stuff. It's good stuff.
All right, man.
All right. Let's introduce Brother Raul. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm also a father, a son, I got grandfather also, and another one on the way. So it's exciting, to see this new beginning in my life. Also, getting back into dating. All know that my wife passed away last year, and it's time. It's time. Not because I said it was time, because God don't want me to be lonely, so He told me it's time.
All right. So what has your experiences been like, Brother Raul, since you've been back out on the dating market again?
It's been interesting. I've noticed it's much different when I first started dating. It's a big change now. It's not, it's not as kind like before. Put it that way.
It's not as kind.
Right. I'm just,
That's a good way to put it.
It's not as kind as before, because it's like, when I'm out there, I'm saying, I'm not like looking, but it's like it's kind of it's like I said, it's a new era. Saying it's so different other right. It's like so different other it's like so different other aspects of what I'm aware of. What I'm saying? Because I've been there, done that in the early years, but now I'm like, it's a new perspective. So I'm being honestly just looking out for myself.
Mm.
Okay. Minister Terrell, we can't hear you, so I'm gonna.
You hit us with so much energy. I want to pick back up on that. So you basically talked about how what the scene looks like today, and essentially what you thought was preparation for you. Yeah. The dating world is lacking now because there's no exclusivity now. It's strictly everybody needs to see me. The picture, my get up or outfit that I'm wearing for you is really for me, and it's for the world. And essentially, if you're not the one, then I'm advertising while I'm dating you.
Perfect. That's it.
so
yeah.
right.
And also, I think today's engagement style has changed, as opposed to, hey, you in the grocery store, you at somewhere, you see someone, you're like, I'm gonna ask this person. Now, men used to have fear of, oh, should I go up to her? Should I say this? Where nowadays the engagement style is, since we all live on social media, now if I see you in a video, if I see you at a friend's wedding, if I see a selfie, now I'm just like, click, inbox, how you doing? The whole thing has just changed, and it's less about dating and it's more about how you look. Can we connect? Can I get to you? It's then cut the middleman all the way out. Its intention is gone. It's just straight and direct. And it's just like, wow. And women do the same. Women do it to men. So it's not just men doing it to women. Women do it to men. So it's an entirely different world out here. But just really quick before I'll pass it over. But to me, I think one of the biggest other reasons for people kind of keeping the flag up is what we call the FOMO factor, the fear of missing out. People always want to feel like there could be something else or someone better over the horizon, but you're good for the interim. So this is fine to hang out here, but when I get really moved by someone, I can pivot. And then, there's that whole thing of someone, you can kind of tell when someone, if you're really paying attention and not looking at your list, as I heard you guys mention earlier, if you're not looking at your list and your how this person is stacking up in requirements, if you just listen to what they're saying, you can hear that a person is not intentional about you. But it's just that we get so much, we have it fixed in our minds that I met them, I like them, and this is probably what's going to happen. But if you listen, people that are not intentional do not speak about tomorrow. They speak about today, the enjoyments of today. If you're out with me and we happen to see my Aunt Joyce at the mall, you just so happen to run into him. But rest assured, you're not going to the cookout. You're not going to the Christmas dinner. None of that. It's just in the moment. We're entertaining. We're having a good time. And when you engage them, if you engage a person to sort of question them, to say, what's going on? I thought such and such and such and such. A person that has no intentions will get irritated because now you're calling them to the front and you're making them sort of profess something that they didn't want to talk about all along because they're not really serious anyway.
Gotcha. So by way of a question then, for both of you guys, and this is about you guys personally now, okay?
Okay.
Well, because you made mention of a list, Charles, for a moment.
Okay.
In dating, do you have a list that a woman would need to measure up to in order for you to seriously consider her in the dating process?
So for me, I would say, I'm not going to lie. I would say absolutely it's a subliminal list.
Hold on. Well, thank you for being honest.
It's a subliminal list. We always say, we'll say, oh, no, absolutely. She show up and that's it. And so truth be told, it's like, you are looking for someone, number one, that is not only psychologically and emotionally self-sufficient, but just physically. You want her to be able to be okay as one on her own. So when she comes to you, you'll be great. The problem is nowadays, I'm sorry.
Well, actually, now the question then becomes this: how has your list changed then over time? Because right now, like you said, you're 50, you're a granddad now. So obviously at this stage of your life, you're more settled and established right now. Yeah. Has your list changed from when you would say 25 to now when you're 50?
I think when you're 25, Pastor John, you don't have no list. You out here in the street like Jesse James. So you just out in the street. You don't really have no everything. You get to the point where you have a heartbeat. You need to have one. You start to implement. But you need to have it. You say, okay, I need to really think this too, because I'll be honest, I've had my situations where I wasn't watching the radar and some things got up under the radar that they normally shouldn't have. And when they and if they get in and it's the wrong access, you're in a world of trouble. So I've seen those situations play out, and that has made me certainly retreat and say, wait a minute, regroup. This wasn't a good decision, blah, blah, blah. And so it makes you say to yourself, hey, when I'm looking or to entertain, if that's what I'm doing, I have to be more intentional about what I am willing to deal with or not. And answer your question, Pastor John, I think when you're older, I don't think your list, so to speak, changes. I think you pivot on your own. You pivot, and you may change. You may take a pause from your initial, your additional bar that you set and say, let me just kind of back up and just reside over here in the gray. And when I'm ready to return, then I'll return to this. And I think that's what people do when they get a certain age. They don't.
Charles,
Well,
you said,
hold on. Let me run it to Brother Raul first.
Okay.
Brother Raul, the question, Brother Raul.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. They're like they froze for a second there. The question is, do you have a list, and how has your list changed over the years?
Oh, definitely got, it's definitely changed, say I agree with Charles, say I don't want to be a bench warmer. I want to be a starter, you understand? So, because, it's definitely changed. I agree totally with Charles. I remember in the younger times, I've been situations that was really just, I say destroyed and tormented, so, I've known what would happen in the past. So it's like the maturity level has gone straight to the roof, so, and another thing that I want to touch on is that, it's like, would I pick a woman that's want to be around my family?
Say it again. Would
I want to pick a woman and not even think about my own family?
Okay.
Would I want this woman around my family? You know what I'm saying? Is she mature enough to handle situations if we go through something? Will she run out or she'll stick in? It's that kind of genre, because you never know. Like I said, in the past I've been through some relationships before I got married that didn't work out because I wanted it to work out, So I've definitely learned. So it's just not me, myself alone. It's also, my family also, what I'm saying? Would I want that person around my family if I, can't trust them? Or if we cannot communicate on things that we could work out, what the case may be? Or if not, I guess you'll be a substitute.
Wow. Hey, he said a substitute.
so let me touch on this, PJ. I'm gonna piggyback on what you said. Charles said that he's looking at the psychological condition of the woman.
Okay, yeah.
Which tells me, mental health is extremely important. It should be for everybody, right? But it's a great point though, because like I always say, everybody comes to the interview to get the job. Wow. And so what are, and Pastor John asked this question, but I'm just going a little bit more detail. What are some of those flags that basically say this person has a mental health issue and I need to pay attention to this today that I wouldn't necessarily pay attention to 20 years ago?
Oh, wow. So you want him to go first?
You go first, Charlie.
Okay. Now let's see. There might be some shots fired on this one. Let me go ahead and say this. All right. I'll tell one of my stories, right? I remember dating someone.
No names.
I'm not going to say nobody's name.
Right, no names.
No name. No, but I remember a scenario where I was dating someone. It was definitely dating, and it was in the infancy stages, maybe talking a couple of weeks at that, and this is before anything that can, let's just say, that can arouse someone's emotions occurred, anything like that. None of it was just dating. And so I remember one time, this is back when I was kind of early on doing my shows or whatever. And I remember not doing a show. I canceled a show. And I was kind of like, I was mentally unpacking. I was a little overwhelmed. And so I remember the person kept calling my phone, and I said, listen, I kind of messaged him. I said, just give me a little bit. I'll return the call to you, talk to you later. So the person just kind of kept calling. I was just like, to myself, I'm like, what is kind of going on? And so I didn't, at this point, because I hadn't had an instance, I didn't think much of it other than maybe that this is just their style of communicating, what have you. I remember going outside. I had to run outside for something. One of my friends had pulled up, and I was going to say, hey, and then this exchange took all of 5 minutes outside. And when I remember stepping back from the sidewalk in front of my place, And I looked up the street to ready to head back to my house. I saw this silhouette of this person, and they were like speed walking towards where I was. And I remember being like, okay, it's wintertime, it's kind of cold. I'm like, what's going on? I couldn't really tell. But when the person got closer, it was the person. And I was like, I was totally shocked because number one, the person literally looked like they just rolled out of their bed. They didn't get ready, rollers and all, and just came in the car.
Rollers.
Like, rollers in the head, and just came. They just literally came to, like, in other words, you're gonna have to let me know why you didn't answer these calls. And I just thought that was the most ludicrous thing. And so they just kind of got real kind of belligerent in front of my home. And so that red flag meter just went, shoot. I was like, okay, this person clearly is not too centered mentally. And I could tell it was all in the eyes. It was just like this it kind of startled me because I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to jail restraining anyone, and I'm keeping myself right here, but typically it was like a situation. And so I've seen some situations like that where people can kind of lose their edge. And I've always told myself this, John, if I'm talking to someone, dating them, we're in a serious relationship, when I think it's important, everyone needs to see a person's level of anger, because you don't need to be surprised in marriage by it. You need to know what you're dealing with. And so when a person shows you that potential of anger, I always say to myself, would I want to be locked in a bedroom, married to this person, and have to endure this? Because I always say to myself, if you can't bring a person back to a state of calm, they're probably not the person for you. Because men or women should be able to redirect their person in the space of anger. Even if you need to step away, be calm, de-escalate, what have you. And if the person loves you, they may be hot and mad, but both of you, if one person is level-minded, the other person normally should come down normally. But if it doesn't, you know that you're connected to the wrong person. Yeah.
Before Brother Raul hops in on that red flag question, I just want to throw this in really quickly. We call that what you mentioned about wanting to see the person angry.
Yeah, the four.
Generally speaking, are the 4 seasons.
Correct.
You want to see them happy, you want to see them sad, you want to see them angry, and you want to see them melancholy.
Yeah.
You want to see what their normal, everyday mood is when nothing's going on.
Yeah. And Pastor John, you want to see them react to the place of elevation, because people will treat you one way at one level, but if their life evolves, you'll see a totally different person. So you definitely need to see that.
Right. So, Brother Raul, what are some of the red flags that you've seen?
Personally, before I got married, I was involved with a certain woman, and like I said, attitudes and behaviors are the ones that I look for, really. Attitudes and behaviors and how your mannerism is, during some situations. And I remember one time I was dating this one. Matter of fact, we were in a relationship, and I was telling her, I said, you know what, I'm gonna step out, and hang out with my boys, for a little bit, and I'll be right back. All of a sudden, she took my keys, throw them out the window. Don't look at me. Took my keys out the window, ripped all my clothes in the closet, all that. So I've been there and done that. I've been in situations like that, and I got to see how you really are. I understand what Charles was saying earlier about how social media is. Click here and click there, get my DM and all that stuff. I need to communicate with that person. Yeah. I need to see you face to face and communicate and talk and see, how are you? I need to talk. Because that's one of the things with red flag. When you talk to somebody face to face, they cannot escape. There's no escape from that, because we're face to face and I'm asking you questions. Are you gonna answer them or not? And I'm gonna read you automatically, No red flags come all the way up. Body movements, Are you gonna get eye contact with me when I speak to you, or any other situation, or you invading the questions, stuff like that, I gotta take this phone call, or I gotta go, it's getting kind of late. These are all red flags.
Right.
So let me just hop in real quick, and I want to ask this as a follow-up question, because both of you have described not so pleasant dating experiences with those that you were dating. And so how has that impacted you in terms of how you dated from that point forward? Because again, I think we would do ourselves much harm if we did not allow those experiences to educate us as to say, no, we're not doing that again, ever. So how has those dating experiences impacted your dating life?
Well,
Charles, you first.
For me, it has made me value fidelity. Maybe value fidelity and value just like saying to yourself, listen, you don't always have to be busy to stay mentally engaged. You just need to be committed and focus right on your person and go from there. And so it has definitely caused me to be more intentional about what I am involved in and those things like that, as opposed to just being out here. You know, to me, I look at it like this: if you're an unmarried man and you're in your 50s, or if you're 50 and beyond, if you're honest, you have two perspectives facing you. You're either the women that comes across you are going to find you as a very promising, intentional, maybe they're intentional about calling you a suitor, or you're going to be looked at as a sponsor. There's two sides. And that sponsor is not limited to just young women. You have older women in your age group who might have some baggage, who got some issues, and they want you to sponsor their deficit. And so to me, that's the win-win for them, but I'm losing because I'm not gaining anything as you are. So that's the kind of scary thing that I think men face in that particular age group.
Okay. Brother Raul, what do you think? How has your past dating experience impacted your future dating experience or your present dating experience?
Well, it definitely matured me a lot. I'm not settling anymore. Because back, when I was there settling, let's say, that loneliness, saying, I got to get a woman. I got to be in a relationship. I was in a hurry to, get a companion, but then picking the wrong companion. You know what I'm saying? Thinking in my own mind and my own thinking and say, this is the one for me right now. But not knowing that how I haven't communicated with her at one time. I just seen the body, physical, everything like that. I didn't even want to know, her history. I didn't even want to know, how her parents was like that. It was just like, I needed to have somebody.
Wow.
But now it's a whole different outlook. It's like, listen, I want to know who your parents was. I want to know how you grew up. You know what I'm saying? I want to find out how you deal with situations if they confront you. Are you a dealer or you a runaway?
Wow. Yeah. Flight risk.
Just being real,
Yeah, flight risk.
I want to score the touchdown. I want to keep getting penalized.
Yeah. Well, this is a scary era that we live in general, because if most people are honest, whichever age group, if you're dating today, most people, think about this aspect, most people only have a cell phone number on a person that you're dating. You don't know their backdrop, you don't know where they come from. That's why the ghosting is so easy, because they're already practically a ghost. They're giving you minimal information. And you don't know much. You don't even, heck, you don't even know. A person may just say, I live out south. Well, that's broad. That don't tell me anything. That's not giving me any kind of foundational background about you. You don't even know where they live. It's just, hey, either they're gonna come see you or I'll meet you over here to get something to eat. And then it's just like, okay, these aren't the proper building blocks, but whatever. That's the era we live in today.
That's a great point, though. I want to just piggyback before Sydney goes, Minister Sydney goes. Are you withholding information from the potential suitor because of that, dominant or predominant behavior, in terms of, do you also not avail all of your life to them in terms of your career or in terms of your financial status or whatever, because you kind of waiting until you have a solid connection before you really reveal all of yourself to them?
Yeah, I believe, if I'm honest, to a degree, I know I have done this in the past, only because from my perspective, to me, we live in the era of the high courts. Things are being dealt with at another level. Like, let's just say somebody has a relationship and you're in social media and this, that, and the other. And when it's all good and great, everyone's all, look at Terrell and myself, we're over here having brownies at Sugar Brown's restaurant. Everybody's all happy and they're like, it's great. But the minute Mr. Terrell goes left and there's an issue, and it's like, you know what, ladies, let me tell y'all something. Watch out for him. It's all over the place. It's like you're in high court. It's like treason. Let's try him for treason and hang him. And it's a different era. So it makes you have to be extremely careful with who you deal with, because it's this age, this era that we're in is scary. And it makes you don't want to be compartmentalized, but by default, you kind of move in fear because you're not sure of how things are aligning, you know, so you have to kind of be careful.
You know what, Brother Charles, with that question, the statement you just made, that's going to segue into the next question that I have. So with the experience that both you and Raul, I'm going to actually start with you. What does dating look like to you at this stage in your life? With all the experience you've had, with all the things you've been through, right now, today, what does dating look like to you at this stage of your life?
Right, real difficult. You know what I'm saying? Distorted. You know what I'm saying? Is that factor? I'm gonna go back with that. Is that factor of communication? You know, I'm a type of person that I need to communicate with another individual. You know what I'm saying? If you can't communicate with me on things that, you know, we're trying to get to know each other, it's not favorable at your side, because I need to find out as much thing I need to, because I'm not going to give my whole self into you if you're not willing to give some of yourself to me.
Yeah.
You know, like I said about, you know, I speak with Brother Charles. You know what I'm saying? You know, this, the media and all that stuff, and I'm going back to that because there's no way you can get a relationship that.
Yeah.
You know, some people may have gone that route and it have worked out. You know, but for me,
it's hard.
That is not gonna happen with me. It's very hard. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, it's like, you know what I'm saying? I could say, listen, I live, like Brother Charles said, I live over here. Okay. But do you live in the hood or you live in the suburban area?
Yeah, because all that matters. All that matters. Yeah.
It matters though, because, you know, it does matter, because, you know what I'm saying, you gotta protect yourself. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get yourself revved up. You know what I'm saying? You got to know when you go into the battlefield. You know what I'm saying? Are you willing to go into that battlefield and deal with that person in that certain area, or in life aspect everywhere?
So let me, Charles, I'm gonna come to you, Charles, but let me stick with you just for a minute, bro. So if you had a word, and I said, how does a dating pool look like to you? Now let me separate this. So I'm a person just viewing this, right? So what I heard from Raul, how it looks to you is difficult. It looks pretty difficult. So with that, you would hang your hat saying, man, right now at this stage right here, dating, it just looks difficult to me. And if so, just so is there any, because that sounds dire, it sounds it's kind of lugubrious in nature. Is there something positive that you can get out of that? So in that difficulty, can you still find something out of that that's promising?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, it's more awareness. You know, also it's more awareness and knowing who and whoever is come toward you, like for another female will come up toward you, you know what I'm saying? And you know, you're speaking to have a nice conversation, and all of a sudden she says something out of whack, and you like, hold up, that flag goes up. You know, so it's time. It's a lot of mixed feelings also in the whole situation. Also, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And you know, it's a lot of mixed feelings. You know what I'm saying? Because that person could be genuine, and you know what I'm saying. Well, this is who I am, and this is what I like, but then when you get with that person, there's a whole different scenario just pops up. Well, now when you get to know each other good and all that stuff, and they go, well, I don't like this. Well, what I told you back then, I ain't like that. And now the whole truth comes out. And now look at me, I'm stuck again.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, Sidney. I'm sorry.
So I was just going to actually pass it to Charles actually with the same question, but I think Pastor may have had a follow-up towards Raul.
Well, no, go ahead with Charles, and then I'll come in after that.
Okay, no, I
Charles.
was just going to quickly piggyback on what Raul said. I like where he touched on distortion, because when he said that, it immediately made me think of, yes, if all of us are pretty much a similar age group, and you remember when we had radios where we had to tune, physically tune. And so you notice how you tune, and if you get that main frequency of the radio station in your area, it's booming, it's loud. But in between there's the all that. So this is what I think dating looks like. It's the frequency of dating is off. And it's like noise. There's a lot of noise, and it's not set to one standard channel. It's just in between, all over the place. It's open, it's permissible, it's all kinds of stuff. And so it's different. And so it's hard to navigate. But for me, it looks like this. For today, if I were seeking a relationship, it looks like I need to find the friend first. Like it's paramount for me to have, like for me, I notice I do better in relationships where I can hold a good conversation with you. I can desire to talk to you on the phone. I can want to feel as though we can do a lot of things together and just organically, and we both enjoy them. It's not a whole lot of too many differing factors, but we kind of align. To me, that's easy at this phase in life, because you know this is the phase where when you step into being married, you want to coast. You don't want to deal with a lot of indifference. So that's an important thing for me at this point.
Gotcha.
So it sounds like then, actually, because that was going to segue into my question, which was about dating on purpose and dating toward marriage and whatever in. So it sounds like that you guys have both kind of already thought that through and kind of come to some resolution about that as it relates to how you're going to be dating, how you're dating now and going forward, that the purpose of it, correct me where I'm wrong. Yeah. It sounds like you guys are both saying that the purpose is to be married, and that is why you're dating. Am I correct in that? Charles first?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh. It hasn't always been the way, Pastor John, but for sure.
I understand. I'm with you, baby. All right.
Hasn't always, for sure, yeah.
Raul, that is the purpose of your dating now?
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely, yes. Because, I said, well, my wife, my late wife, she used to always joke with me. She said, if I leave this earth, she wanted me to get remarried.
Happy.
Honestly and truthfully, she said, but it better be a good looking woman. That's what she always tells me.
So what that does then is that actually kind of changes my question that I was going to ask you, since you guys have kind of already done that. Okay. I want to know, at this stage of your life, how does pressure, internal or external, affect your dating priorities? Let's go with Raul first, and then we'll come back to you, Charles.
Okay.
Well, there's no pressure for me. I get others speaking, but it's not pressure for them, pressure me to go back and dating and get married and everything. I always get those questions, saying, will you date again? Will you get married again? Are you ready to go out there again? But it's not no pressure at all. It's just like, it's just time. It's time for me to go ahead and go forward and live my life and get back in dating and get that certain someone that we can get together, I know last time we talked about it's just like not building, because we both come in with something, but building to that state of marriage, what I'm saying, and we go on and move on in that state.
Okay, let me. I'm gonna push you a little bit, Raul, and push you a little bit is going to open the door for Charles as well. Okay, to kind of think through a little bit. I'm 48. I'm 48 years old, but I've been married more than half my life. Okay. Now, the reason that is the case, though, and I plan on being married for the rest of my life, because there is a silent, unspoken desire to not want to die alone.
Okay.
I don't want to die on a mattress in a hospital bed. I know that. I want to die in my bed with my family, my wife and kids around me.
Amen.
Does that not provide any pressure whatsoever in you guys' thought process, but being that you're both single?
Honestly, yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Charles.
Oh no, absolutely. It's that's like a very real thing in the in the back of your mind. If you're honest, always, it's something that, you know, as each year you come upon your birthday and you look at your situation, and especially for us being, if we're honest, we have the dominion of our situation. If we have a woman in our life as our partner, as our whomever you title it, in most cases, she's there because she believes in you and she's open to the next step, should you be willing to open that door. So, so yeah, it's something that, you know, you say to yourself, you know, yeah, you may have these difficulties that you may wrestle with internally, and you get fearful of delivering or being that consistent figure that the person may need. And so that's a wrestling point. But at the same time, you have to say, listen, at either point, you have to just say to yourself, I'm going to be well with it and okay with it, however, and I need to just go ahead on and do what I know that I need to do. Because honestly, I've seen that example in my coming up. My mom and dad were together for almost 40 years. So I saw the example of, you know, them being together. I didn't see like my dad ever spend the night outside of the home unless he was on a camping trip or something for work. Other than that, he was home every night. There wasn't any yelling and abuse and drunkenness in the house, all that stuff. I saw a pretty healthy model. So for me, when I look to that side and I think about my life, the only thing I would say that's fearful is today is not that era. This is a far different time. And so the woman sometimes you may likely entertain is far different from mom, right? So it's a different
pee in the dating pool.
For sure, yeah. So it can be a little scary, but other than that, but if you have a person that's solid, you know, it would behoove any man to just say, listen, let me not continue to belabor the hours and just enjoy the rest of my life, you know, that kind of thing.
Pastor Adam, we're coming to you next.
Yeah. So I want to ask the both of you. And again, being older, having dated, you know, I guess, you know, various different women and what have you. Let me ask you, if the woman that you dated wasn't a Christian, would that be a deal breaker for you? You know, and I want you to be straight up and I want you to be honest in terms of answering this question. Is them not being a Christian a deal breaker for you?
Okay.
I'll start with you, brother.
Oh, well, you better rock.
No, go ahead, Charles.
No, no. I was going to Pastor John say, put the earplugs in, Pastor John. Anyway, go ahead. So listen, I'll say this honestly. Clearly, I was raised from the pew as a Christian, so I understand. I get it. I was raised in church, so I understand that whole dynamic. I will say, over time, you know, the scripture where it talks about our conscience being seared. Right, I've seen the conscience of Christians become seared, and I've seen the compromise. I've seen where you'll take a single woman in church, a single woman out of church. They both are desiring a man. They both are desiring marriage, and so on and so forth. I've seen the dating process ensue. I've seen similar actions of duality on both sides. The only difference was, when one person was, when I left away from one person, they were like, well, I'm going to meet Misha at bar 22. When I left away from Karen, she was like, well, I got to go here because we got to travel tomorrow down to North Carolina for this church service. But the same actions, it's just a different world they lived in. See, they lived in different worlds, but the actions were the same. And so for me,
let's do this for a second with the question, John.
Okay.
Let's take the hypocrites out of it.
Okay. All right.
Let's take the hypocrites out.
All right.
So if Charles has an opportunity to marry a real Christian woman,
for sure,
okay, versus a real non-Christian woman,
yeah, for sure.
I
would take the believer any day. The believer any day.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Brother Raul?
Definitely, the believer, definitely. You know, that's very important to me in my life. You know, like for me, I didn't grow up in church, so I've been to the muck and the mire and all things. So I know how, I've been to the muck and the mire and all things. So I've experienced it. I've been there and I've done that. And now that I'm more mature now and in church with Christ and everything like that, and I see the bigger picture, and I need to have somebody with me that believes in God and genuine spirit and truth like I am, We gotta be on point. And I'm a very spiritual and one of the presence of God all the time and everything. We gotta connect just like that because we could be the most powerful couple in the world. You know what I'm saying? And just to be pleasing to God. You know what I'm saying? But that's really important for me because that's one of my top number one on my list.
Got it.
So what I just heard is that it is a deal breaker for you, Raul. It is a desire for you, Charles, but it's not a deal breaker.
Well, no, it is. I was just kind of giving you guys a two-sided prong.
Sure.
Rest assured,
Okay.
if it came down to covenant, I desire covenant with like minds in faith. I don't want to do the duality of faith and things like that. Yeah, for me.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I think, it's good to know your perspectives in terms of the dating game and the different individuals that you connected with. But I think what's also important is we asked this question to the women, and I'm wondering how you guys view this as well in terms of pressure. Pastor John touched it too. And you said that, you don't want to die alone, right? You don't, when you're dead, when it's your last day or whatever, you want to die around your family, right? Someone that loves you. And is there any other pressures that you guys feel in terms of to get this done, to get this closed? Maybe you take less liberties that you were maybe 20 years ago. Now that you kind of like, okay, the list is not as important, long as she ain't crazy, which you never know until you're already in it. But anyway,
You're right.
If you Charles, man, you can find out at your front door now.
Okay.
crazy scanner. So let me scan. Let me.
Right.
But seriously. So, do you guys place any internal pressure on yourselves to to close this gap in your life?
It is an unspoken pressure. I think when it's like if any man would be lying to himself at the age that we're at, and let's just say if you were dating someone and then next thing you know, here comes the person that's taking you to meet their mom or to meet their friend. The first thing someone is going to say, well, maybe they won't say it to you in your face, but they'll tell your person, so this person hasn't been married yet? Why? What's going on? What's he waiting for? Well, how come? It's like, so in your mind, you're just like, oh, here we come with this. I gotta explain this or dodge around it, one and two. So it's something that's kind of always there. So in your back of your mind, you even though women always have their stopwatch on, but for men, we have to have our own subliminal time span going in our mind to say, okay, if I'm going to do this and be intentional, I need to be mindful of this so this doesn't bleed into something that it's not leading where it needs to go. So yeah, it's definitely something.
Okay. Ro?
For me, yeah, definitely. Like I said, I ain't getting any younger.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I want to enjoy life. You know what I'm saying? So if I meet that certain someone, I would like to enjoy the life I have it now and not wait till the long run. You know what I'm saying? You never know what may come. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely yeah.
Okay. I want to just ask this one little piece, and then we'll let you guys give closing marks, and then we'll let you guys go. But we definitely appreciate your time today and your contribution.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel the women that you dated or dating, from a male perspective, that you could have closed the deal, but maybe your personal intentions or just your mindset at the time, you didn't? In other words, there are women that you could have potentially been married to now that may have fit the character that you were looking for, communication, the whole nine, but because of some of the things that you may have wanted to continue to do personally, you didn't close that deal.
Absolutely. I can answer it from two prongs. There was the point of the things that maybe you've done that sabotage things, right? And then there's the other side of your own, the demons that you wrestle with, meaning, like for me, I call myself like a perfectionist. So for me, I'm always trying to make sure I get something right and make sure the person is okay. So one of the things that used to plague me was when it comes to choosing your spouse and actually marrying her, are you going to be able to toe the line consistently enough to provide what you need for this person and keep them happy? You know, that's like a pressure in the back of your mind, because, you know, our personalities are fleeting. People come and go emotionally, they're up and down. And so it's hard enough keeping yourself grounded, right? So you're thinking, now I have to now be responsible for this individual. And so you're like, okay. And so you're thinking all these things, and you're saying to yourself, I like to be in spaces that I can close, that I know I have power over closing. This situation is involving a totally different individual, an additional individual. So can I have the confidence of closing that? So that I used to struggle with that. So I totally get where you are with that. So, yeah.
Raul?
For me, you know, it was being distracted at times. You know what I'm saying? Other thoughts in my head and mind. You know what I'm saying? Am I able to deal with somebody else right now? You know, or in another matter, is she gonna be good enough for me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, just being honest. You know, because I'm a brutal, honest, transparent person, and I really want to know. You know what I'm saying? So those thoughts come in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Is she gonna be good enough for me, or are we really gonna be compatible if I do make this move? You know, I want to be really sure. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be you know, just thinking all the time when I'm with her, or with her, the case may be, saying, you know what I'm saying, maybe I made a wrong move. Maybe this wasn't the right person. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't want no distractions, you know, before I, you know, make the move. You know, so I gotta be in that right state of mind. And that's important for me to close just like that, you know what I'm saying? Because distractions will definitely just destroy the whole relationship.
Okay. All right, good stuff. Appreciate your answers. Raul, let's start with you with the closing remarks.
Okay. You know, the advice I give to men on the dating era right now is that do not be vulnerable. You know, it's important that you know what you want. You know, do not settle. You know, look for the red flags. You know what I'm saying? See how their mannerism is. See how, you know, how they react to certain questions or situations that you go through. You know, and be true to yourself. Be true to yourself and see what you want. Be true to yourself. And also, is it the right decision that you made, or is it your decision, or is it God's decision?
Mm.
Thank you, Brother Raul.
All right.
Charles, you have the last word.
All right. I would say definitely take back the power of your own reality. We're living in a time where social media is driving the trends of our lives, and that's, we all know that the cyber world is not a real world. You know, we may touch in and plug into it, but it's not reality. And so we are out here chasing trends. Some people are even getting married because such and such's friends got engaged yesterday online in front of everybody. You know, own your own situation in real time. Because like you said, aligning yourself to these trends and algorithms, well, it'll set your life ablaze. So take control of real life and convey that to your partner so you all can converge together in that space.
Awesome.
So, well, thank you guys both for your contributions. God bless you, and good luck on your dating search.
All right. Thank you, sir.
God bless you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go do our round table, and we're gonna start from the women, you know, and I would just basically want to pick observations that you guys have, you know, kind of called out and connect the dots. I'll start with you, Sydney.
With the women, I saw it being, if I had something to use, I said matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
They knew exactly where they stood. It was no wavering. Their minds were made up. I thought them being very, very calculated in their response, but also being self-assuring in their response. I was really, really not taken back, but I was really it was interesting when I heard the whole issue about not being under any kind of pressure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, typically you kind of get that, but from both of them, they said they hadn't had any pressure. The pressure that they did have happened early on in their life, opposed to them being, you know, at the age they are now. So that's what I got from the ladies out of that.
And then guys, go ahead and give me your evaluation of this conversation.
And the guys, kind of similar to a degree. I got a lot of, I really wish we could have got into some other things, but a lot of things that I got out of the guys, what I really want to ask was, in particular, Charles mentioned that the dating scene, he said that the dating scene had changed. And I just want to give just a little pushback saying that, is the dating scene changed, or is something about when people get in things that we mess some things up? Or is it the people that then change some of those things? And my thing was going to simply be, what have you done in your relationships that have kind of marred things up? So that was going to be one of my responses, but kind of similar with the girl. The guys kind of like, you know, just because it wasn't their first rodeo, as Mae West would say, and it's not my first rodeo, that means that, you know, I know exactly what I want. I don't want to play these different games. And I saw that the social media really played a big part, especially in Charles' decision making and some of the way how he kind of perceived relationships now.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
Pastor
John.
Much the same way. I think that you know, if I'm going to contrast dealing with the discussion we just had with the over 30s, actually the over 40s, I think we just had a conversation with, versus the conversation we had with the younger generation. This older generation is much more direct about what it is that they want. There's a greater awareness that we have fewer days ahead of us than we have behind us.
Exactly.
And that, you know, and that those experiences that we have definitely focused the older generation's attention. Now, to draw a line between the women and the men, I did think that the women's discussion was much more was much more transparent.
Okay.
I think that the women were a lot more transparent. When I listened to Sister Earlene say that she's you know, some things were on the list that are not on the list anymore. It's a very short list now. Nikki said the same thing as well. It's a very short list now. You know, I think that those things speak to the fact that they understand to a greater degree what's important and what's not. They understand that there are fewer things that are as important now as they thought they were when they were younger.
Can I interrupt you 1 second? Because I want to know a little bit more about what you just said. Do you see a dynamic between male, female, or women and man in that perspective, where the reason why they gave that level of transparency versus the guys kind of talked at a higher level when we asked about the list? Do you think that that's just the pressure?
That's what I was about to get to. So with the women, one of the things that we noticed is that I noticed, let me say it this way. One of the things that I noticed is that their answers were more directed towards the individual. Whereas the men's answers were more lofty. They were more direct in terms of generalities. But I think that's a bit of a disconnect between men and women in terms of how we approach issues. Oftentimes men approach issues as big picture issues, whereas women approach them in a more pragmatic, individualistic sort of way. You'll find that in basic conversations that you have between men and women. When you're talking to men, you speak in generalities, right? And then when you're talking to a woman, she'll say, well, yeah, what you said is true, but it doesn't apply to everybody. Well, I know it don't apply to everybody. It's a generality. But women think more individualistically than men do. So when you're having a conversation with women, they're gonna break it all the way down to my neighbor's kid. Whereas when you have a conversation with men, we're gonna keep it in terms of the city. You see? And so you notice that. And so to that degree, now one of the things that I was gonna get to though, is with the women, they were much more direct about what they're looking for right now, and their lists are small. They both of them made that comment. Their list was short. When you talk to the men, all of a sudden now our lists are long.
Right, go figure.
When we were younger, our lists were short. All she had to be was fine.
Right.
Right. Didn't have to be that smart.
Yeah.
Didn't have to be that nice.
Right.
Or any of that kind of, didn't have to cook, didn't have to clean, none of that kind of stuff.
One leg, one arm, that's it.
But now that we've gotten older, our list that began with 2 or 3 things when we were young, now that list is 40, 50 things long. You know, the woman's list was 50 things long when she was young, and now it's down to 2 or 3 things.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's very interesting to see. And the reason for that is because as we get more established in life, men do, our value, generally speaking, goes up. But we become more demanding later in life.
Right.
Generally speaking, a woman's value to a man goes down later in life. So she can become less demanding.
That is so good. And I wish we had touched on this earlier, because it sounds like what you're saying is that because the way men view women in terms of value, right?
And vice versa.
Right, and vice versa. The older, if you will, the older or more seasoned the woman is, there's certain values that we desire, but there's certain things that we're just not going to put up with if they don't have those other values in terms of, in terms of looks. And
right, because think about it. When a woman is young, her value to a man is at its highest.
Right.
Yeah.
She's got less sexual miles on her. Is that okay to say?
Yeah, you said it. Now it's out there, bro.
she's got less sexual.
Get it back now.
Right. she's got less. In generally speaking, she's got a shorter sexual history, which raises her value. She's got a shorter relationship experience history, which also increases her value, right? And so, whereas a man early in his life has very little money, that lowers his value.
Right.
Okay. He has very little wisdom, so that lowers his value. He has very little life experience and stability, so that lowers his value. Well, later in life, he's got more money. That increases his value. He's got more stability. That increases his value, right? But the woman now, later in life, she's got a greater sexual history. That lowers her value. She's got more relationships now that have done damage to her emotionally. That lowers her value. So it does an inverse as it relates to men and women later in life versus earlier in life. That's one of the reasons I believe that it behooves us to get married younger and grow and develop together,
right?
Rather than wait till we're older, because once you get, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. It's just hard. And if he's developed his own money now and his own lifestyle now, and then you want to come in and say, okay, this is ours. I'm talking to women now. You come in and say, this is ours. He's going to say, no, this is mine. And you got to fit into my program. Why? Because there are more women like you that want a man like me than there are men like me that women like you want.
That's good. It's real good. Wow.
Wow.
We're just talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. Pastor Adam, what you got to say to follow up to
Dude, this is about done, man. I mean, it's not a lot left to be said, honestly. I think the only thing that I would probably draw attention to, and I'll just tell just real quickly from my own personal experience in terms of being, older and then having to be reintroduced to a brand new dating scene, and that's what all 4 of these panelists have had to do. They've had to learn how to navigate that. And it's treacherous. Yeah. And it's unknowing. You don't know what you're going to get until you actually get it. And all of them, to their credit, have been able to say, you know what, regardless of what's out there, I'm not going to settle for just anything.
Yeah.
Because anything is literally out there. Any and everything is literally out there. I'm telling you what I know. It's literally out there. But they have said that they're not going to allow their age or their status in life to determine how desperate they may or may not be. And I think a lot of times, the older you get, the more desperate you become to want to have somebody in your life. And again, my hat is off doubly to the women that were on the program, because society would say, you're not married yet, you don't have nobody else in your life to share it with. They are not settling. They are willing to be by themselves, and that's it. Yeah. That's it. So, and again, I found there to be such a level of just contentment, if you will, with them both. Not having to strive or fight for somebody, not having to go or no. If he's for me, then he's for me, and if he's not, I'm good with that too. You know,
that's a good point Adams made, Pastor. Because watch this, y'all. Here go the caveat. Because my list has gotten shorter does not mean that I'm settling.
Exactly.
And we assume because that list has somehow shrunk over the year, that somehow somebody will interpret that meaning that, okay, well, now they're starting to settle. No, it doesn't mean that. So when Earlene said things like, hey, you know what, it doesn't matter, you know, what kind of car you have, it doesn't mean that she's going to settle for the next man that show up in a certain car. It doesn't mean that. So when you said that, Pastor Adams, that kind of made me think about that.
Yeah. You know, and it did beg the question to me, and I didn't ask it because of time, obviously, but the question it would have begged for me is, what does settling mean?
Yeah.
You know, because we say that, you know, we've heard that said, this woman has said, I'm not going to settle. That man has said, I'm not going to settle. Well, what does that actually mean? And it implies that it implies that I know my worth.
Yeah.
I know my worth.
When we say I'm going to settle, that means that I'm not going to settle for less than what I'm worth or I deserve.
Yeah.
So then the question obviously then has to become, okay, well, what are you worth?
Right.
What do you deserve?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
It opens the door to a much broader conversation, because then the next question becomes, okay, well, this is what you think you're worth. This is what you think you deserve. Now, what about the person that you're with? Are they settling with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great point. You introduced this term in our Fit for Marriage, 6 figures, 6 feet. You know, in terms of, you know, the list, and it sounds like,
let's see, 6-pack, 6 feet, and 6 figures.
Right.
And so, you know, that sound like to me their list has been reduced, but those type of things have come off the list.
Yeah, I think that many of both groups, men and women, have learned what's really valuable.
Right.
You know, that's why I think the lists are so much shorter. I think that they've learned that, you know, especially as you've aged as a woman and a man, now you got your own money now, so 6 figures don't matter no more.
Right.
I don't need your money.
Right.
You know, as you've aged as a man and a woman, the body has changed now. Right. So I don't need 6-pack no more. And height is what height is. That's just really just a thing, you know. But but I think that the lists have changed, because I think that both groups have recognized that it's the character that makes the difference. That's right. Also now at this stage of their lives.
Can I just add one? I want to add one last little tidbit real quick. Sure. And this is something that I myself have encountered, and I'm sure they have too. The older you get, the more self-awareness you have, which means I'm able to, I know myself better than I did when I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And now that I'm 50, 51, God help us, I know myself better than when I was 30. And when I turn 55, I'll know myself better than when I was 40. You know, and I think that has a lot to do with who you're looking for, because who I'm looking for, based on my self-awareness of who I am, has to be on some level compatible with me. But if I don't know me, if I have no idea of who I am, or even as Pastor John said, my worth, then I'm willing to entertain anybody who is not on the same level.
Sure.
That's all.
Yeah. Sure. I like the fact that they all said that being a Christian pretty much is a deal breaker. I know Nikki said that having a belief system, but I like the fact, it sounds like to me, they know the value of having a governing faith, a governing belief system. And they also kind of touch the bases on maybe that's a process, part of the process that will alleviate some of this catfishing or some of this, social media misnomers and placating and, just false, identifying themselves and people, things of that nature, because they're labeled a Christian. But even in that perspective, I think you still have to know yourself. And I like what the women both said when they closed their statements was, know yourself, be true to yourself, be valuable, know who you are. And know, to your point, Pastor John, know your worth. And I think that for even men, it's important that you know your worth, you know what you bring to the table. I am terrified to have to be back in the dating pool in any shape or form, just to be honest with you guys, because you don't know what you're gonna get. And even though you mature, you still gravitate to what your flesh wants. And so it's a level of maturity that I think you have to say, even though this person may have 1 through 5, they don't have 6 through 9, right? Or 6 through 10. And so it's a deal breaker. So to me, I am personally terrified at the thought of ever having to be back in that game. And so I'm definitely going to go ahead and, today and be extra sweet to the wife. But anyway, it's extra sweet. Whatever you want, baby. Yeah, sure.
How's that any different than what he always does?
I knew it was coming. But anyway, that was
it's
for
just
you.
your day. You just win the day.
It wasn't for PJ. It was for you, baby. As long as you got it, that's good enough. Okay. Anyway, I don't even see nobody else on the panel. Let's go ahead and close it out. Guys, I thank you for this time. Awesome. We learned a lot. Just like last month, we learned a lot. And I think it's important. Real quick, it's 4:57. Real quick, I want everybody, if you give one sentence of advice to men and women out there in this dating era, what is it? What does it look like? Pastor John, I'm gonna pass it to you.
I'm sorry, you said about the dating scene?
Yes, in this dating era, one quick spiritual advice or whatever you want to say.
I think the statement is true that there is pee in the dating pool. Mm-hmm. But having the right set of standards can act as a filter to clean out the water. I think that if we have the right kind of dating standards, I think that if we're dating on purpose and these kinds of things, then we can, in fact, get to the place where we're hoping to get to as a people.
Pastor Adam.
I think the only thing that I would say, just to reaffirm what I just said, and I'll quote this quote, to thine own self be true. Again, understanding who you are, understanding your desires and your own wants, because a lot of times you get out into the dating scene and you really don't know what you want. That has a lot to do with you not knowing who you are. And so I really believe that if you do some self-assessment of who you are, that'll help you narrow down the field in terms of who you would potentially date. So know yourself.
Amen. That's good. Sydney.
I would say real fast, fall in love with God. Put God in your relationship, whatever you do. You can't love the red flags out of someone, and believe someone the first time that they show you who they truly are.
That's good too.
That's really, really good. Good advice. I say this: if you're looking for a lion, don't go and visit the giraffe den. All right, just don't do it. Change your pool. Sometimes we want to find these awesome people, awesome tens, or if you will, these awesome men, and women, but we're looking in the wrong places. And I think it's important that if you're intentional about finding that particular type of woman or male, that you look in a place that's different than what you're probably accustomed to. All right. All right. I am so grateful for this session today, guys. I think you guys have done awesome. This has been a great session. I'm looking forward to actually watching it and not having to facilitate it. And so until next after church session, may God be with you. May God bless you, and may God keep you. Bye, guys.